Okay, so hopefully the quiz was nothing surprising, right? You had to use the distance and midpoint formulas on the quiz. That's really all you had to do formula-wise. How far, distance, you had to find the midpoint. Sometimes you were given the midpoint. And then you had the constructions. And I do realize that one of those angles was kind of small. But as long as you did the angle bisector construction, I just made it longer. It worked out fine. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the next concept in our coordinate geometry unit. And I passed out a little mini packet. And we're going to skip the first page. They kind of got copied in reverse order. And we're going to do the back of the first page, okay? Where it talks about slope for the mathematically inclined. And that's what we're going to be working on here after school, or after the test today. But I wanted us to kind of get a measure or an idea of what you already know about slope. And so I did have you guys text some words, that 1 to 2 words that what you know about slope. And a couple of words I really like: rise over run. Okay, that's something that your algebra teacher talked to you about. And that's something we're going to talk about today. I really like this word incline. Okay, who texted that one? That was a good one. Good job, Zara. That was excellent. Incline was great. Now this y equals mx, it's larger because more than one of you typed that in. That's fine. But that's not slope. There's a letter in there that describes slope. What letter is it? Your m. Okay. So it's a number with the x. So from an algebra perspective, it is the m. And we're going to get to the algebra stuff next class, okay, after your notebook check, which you'll have Thursday. We're going to talk about the algebra with slope. But today I'm just going to have us worry about, honestly, incline and rise over run. And we're going to look at some actual real life, maybe not. There we go. Of course, my thing's up here. We're going to look at some real life examples of slope. And I want us to think about, when I say the word slope, I love that word incline, what are some things that have a slope that you could look around in your life or in your past life? Or a mountain, okay? We call Vulcan Mountain, it's not really a mountain, it's just right behind the school there is it's a hill, but it's part of Vulcan, which is a quarry. Thank you, I was looking for the word. So we call it Vulcan Mountain. It's not really a mountain, but it's a hill, part of the quarry. And so it has a slope, which means that the side of the mountain has an incline. Okay, we go skiing down those slopes, right? Give me something else that you know that has a slope. A ramp, good. Okay, a half pipe is interesting. A half pipe has a curve. So I wouldn't call that a ramp. I'd actually call that either parabolic or exponential, but you don't know about that yet. Give me something else. A leaning table, okay, like a leaning Tower of Pisa maybe would be a good example. It's a leaning building, okay. There's one that you guys have, it's on a playground all the time. Slide, okay. We slide down one, right? Oh, they have the end sometimes. Yeah, you don't just like fall off and hit the dirt. You're right. There's a little tail at the end. I agree. Okay, you don't just go woo and fall off. Unless you're like at the water park slides where you go into a pool. Could be that, right? But let's talk about something else, okay? About 5 years, actually not 5 years ago, I won't put numbers on it, but a few years ago, Stonewall Jackson was written up, I guess is not the right word. We were found that the ramp to the front of our school was not according to law, okay? And so we kind of created this little exercise because we're going to actually go down and measure, because someone said ramp, right? I forget who, someone over here said ramp. Harriet, Sophia, Jesse. So I was doing some over here, ramp. So we're going to actually measure that ramp, that wheelchair ramp to the front of the school, because it wasn't within code before. And they actually redid it. Was it last year or the year before? I'm not sure. But they just redid it. So we need to measure it to see, is it within code now? There's also stairwells, okay? You guys are mostly freshmen, some of us are sophomores, but there's always this argument between the middle stairwell and stairwell 1. Anyone have a feeling about which one feels steeper when you walk up it? Stairwell. I think actually the middle stairwell feels like it's so much steeper, right? And we're going to compare that stairwell to stairwell 1 to figure out, is the incline more or less or the same? Okay? Why does that stairwell feel so much steeper than the other one? So we're going to actually do some measuring, and we're going to do it in the next 15 minutes because we got to get back up here before the end of school. We're going to get out of the room and measure today. Okay? So, I hopefully, guys, listen please. I hope that I have enough tapes for us, every group to have one. If not, we'll have to share. That's okay. Listen carefully. Shh, shh, shh. I need to talk to you because I only have a couple of minutes before we need to go and get back. How am I going to measure? Let's start with the wheelchair ramp. How am I going? I don't have a tape long enough to measure the whole ramp. I want to measure. So let's just say, let me just draw an example. I have this really long wheelchair ramp. I do not, and I want to figure out the slope of that line. Do you remember? Do you agree that we have rise over run? Do you agree with that? Okay. I think it's wrong. You should not agree with that. Error analysis. Good job. Okay. Rise over run. Now I don't have a tape long enough to measure the whole run of the ramp. So give me a second idea. Measure the rise, and then how about what about the run? We're just finding the slope. Here's a suggestion. You ready? Maybe we have a tape that's long enough just to go from here to here. Isn't that rise over run supposedly the same as the other rise over run? No. Yes. The slope is consistent. This would, like, for example, what if this was 6 and 2? What would this little rise and run have to be? 3 and 1. They're the same. Do you see my point? So just because I don't have a tape that's long enough to measure the whole ramp, I don't need to. Just start the corner and go as far as you can. Good enough? Okay. Second thing. The ramp is a little bit easier to think about because you can just make a little triangle. What about the stairwell? A little harder. So we're going to measure stairs. Again, I'm trying to find the incline, the slope of the stair. So you're actually trying to find this, right? Okay, which is not really there, right? It's kind of like the space in the air. That's the incline of the stairs. So how am I going to measure the rise and the run of the stairs? I just measure the step. I measure the depth of the step and the height of the step, and that's really all you need to measure. This would be the run, and this would be the rise. Good enough? Actually, according to Virginia code, I know this because my deck is not to code, because my husband moved the stairs on my deck and had to cut off one of the stairs. I don't even know. But all the stairs, if you have a stairwell, all of them should have the exact same rise and run. So you're not like big step, little step, big, falling down the stairs. They should all be consistent. So it doesn't matter which one you measure. So you can all pick a different step to measure. Fair enough? You only need to do one, because that would give you the incline. Okay? All right, so here's what we're going to do. You should have on your table 3 things, a place for rise, run, and slope. Do you see that? And you have the 3 different things we're going to measure. Stairwell 1, which is behind me, middle stairwell, and the wheelchair ramp. We got to do this in 20 minutes and get back up here. Okay, so I'm going to pause. I'm going to give you a tape. Since you're only 2 of you, I'm going to have you work with another. Can you work with this group right here? Let me see how many tapes I have first. Hang on. I don't think I have enough for everybody. All right. Oh, we should be consistent. Shh, guys, listen. Shh, excuse me. We need to be consistent with our measurements. Let's pick a unit of measure. Huh? Oh, I didn't record. That's all right. I'm recording still. There you go. I am going to have you guys have to work with a different group, okay, just to get their measurements. I don't have any tapes. I don't care who you work with. All right, shh, listen. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Shh, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Each group has a tape. Let's be consistent with our units of measure because some of the tapes have centimeters, some of them have inches. And if we're going to be comparing across groups, we need to have the same unit of measure. So what unit of measure do you want to use? You guys realize that inches have to deal with fractions. You might have a 1/16 of an inch. You might have an 1/8 of an inch. I think for ease of calculations, that centimeters might be better, okay? Just because you can use decimals that way, right? All right, so let's go. Let's go ahead and tell me, and I'm just going to write them in here, what the slopes are for these things, okay? So as I come around to your table, you can give me, let's start with, let's do the ramp outside by the front door. Let's worry about the whatever ramps, so wheelchair ramp. Okay, what number did you guys get for your slope?
For the slope, 0.07.
0.07.
For the ramp outside.
For the ramp outside, okay? 0.07. 0.07. 0.125. What'd you guys get? Shh. 0.15. Something's wrong. Are you sure? What did you guys get? So there's an outlier here. Oh, well, you're part of their group, aren't you? Okay. Okay. All right. So I think there might have been a measurement error with one group. So that's okay, and that happens, and you had a weird tape, and I get that. So that might have been part of it, where you had to double some things and what have you. But I think a good estimate for everybody, wouldn't you say, is 0.07? Yeah. Now, when we talk about slope, we really haven't, that's not traditionally how we write slope. So let's think about units for a minute, okay? And we do this in AP Stats, we do this in Algebra 2 Trig, and Algebra 2. We need to interpret the meaning behind what this number is telling me. So what unit did we measure in? Centimeters. So let's interpret what the slope is. I want you to write the meaning next to it here, or underneath the table, wherever you have room. Circle your 0.07, and let's worry about that one. Okay? We need to say, for every what? 0.07 centimeter in, because if you remember, our slope is rise over run. We usually talk about it as a fraction. 0.07 is not a fraction. Could we convert it to a fraction? Yeah. Okay, so maybe we do that. So how do I convert 0.07 to a fraction? 7/100. Okay, so 7/100. All right, so for every 7 centimeters in what? 7 is a rise or a run?
Right. So
for every centimeters in height of the ramp, how long does the ramp have to be? 400. There you go. So say it in your own words, but I'm going to kind of say it one more time. We're going to convert this number, and we're going to interpret it. For every 7 centimeters that the ramp goes in height, that it's rise, it has to be how long? Well, 100 centimeters. That's how our ramp is, right? So write a sentence anywhere you want on this paper, around the table. Okay? All right. So your only homework tonight is to do 2 things. One, I want you to use your measurements for the middle stairwell and stairwell 1, and I want you to write a summary sentence. Which is steeper than the other? Okay? Are they the same height, or do they have the same incline, or is one actually steeper than the other? So for every 7 centimeters in rise, it's 100 centimeters in run. Okay? All right. So you should have, well, we've already done 2 sentences so far. One sentence interprets the wheelchair ramp. One sentence compares the middle stairwell to stairwell 1, which one is steeper. And then you're going to do a third thing. If you scroll down, you're going to answer this question. Maybe not. I hate this thing. Whatever. Whoa, I just threw numbers. That was wild. Come back. Really? Down here, I can't even show you anymore, but you're going to answer this question using complete sentences. Okay? Virginia's law says wheelchair rates cannot be greater than 1 in 12. Is Virginia, or is Stonewall Jackson, have they met code? So you have to answer that question yourself. So you should have 3 things I'm looking for homework tomorrow, on Thursday. 3 sentences. 1, interpret the wheelchair ramp in context. 2, I want you to compare middle stairwell to stairwell 1. And 3, I want you to answer the question. Are we in code? Yes or no? And explain why. Don't just say yes, period, and call that an answer. Okay? Compare and answer it.